In this video, we will look at life cycle assessment and recycling. This is both a GCSE topic for, I think, all examination boards. I'm mainly focusing on GCSE, Edexcel for combined science and chemistry. And this comes under topic 4. So life cycle assessment. We're looking at advantages and disadvantages of recycling. The 4 stages in carrying out of a life cycle assessment of a product, and that's what we will start with initially. So the key learning questions, and I'm going to start with this one first, in terms of what are the factors to consider in life cycle assessment, and then we will look at recycling after this. So life cycle assessment. Life cycle assessment is used to work out the environmental impact of a product from raw materials to disposal of the product, i.e. from making the product to using it and then disposing the product. It helps us to decide whether it's worthwhile to manufacture the product and to recycle it. This is key in the chemical industry. It can be used to compare the effect of using different materials for the same product. For example, making a bag. Do we need to make the bag from paper or plastic? So the stages in life cycle assessment. This is a nice diagram. Life cycle assessment can be carried out to work out the environmental impact. And here is an example. And it's important that we read this information. So the questions to ask. What raw materials are needed? How are they processed? How much energy is needed in manufacture and packaging the product? Where does the energy come from? Fossil fuels, hydrogen fuel, things like that. What will the product be used for and how will it be disposed? These are the 4 main stages. The first stage is obtaining the product from its raw materials. So the first stage is obtaining the raw materials. Then second stage is manufacture. Third is using the product, and the 4th stage is disposal of the product. So we will move on. So what type of bag? So we're going to use this as an example. A grocery shop owner has asked you to help to decide what type of shopping bag to sell to the customers. So first thing, what does the shop owner need to consider when making the decision? And here are some of the possibilities. Is the raw material renewable or not? Does manufacturing the bags create pollution? How many times can the bag be reused? Can the bag be recycled? And how much does the bag cost to produce? Raw materials. So, raw materials to use. Are the raw materials renewable? So let's look at paper bags. So paper is made from trees. More trees need to be replanted, or the more trees you cut, the more pollution there is because the amount of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere goes up. What about plastic bags? Plastic alkenes used to make plastics are manufactured from crude oil. Crude oil is a non-renewable resource. So paper bags is a renewable resource. Plastics is non-renewable. What are the main stages in processing the raw materials to make the material for the bags? For paper bags, you need to cut down trees, you need to take them to a sawmill, take the planks to a paper mill and convert them to paper. In the case of plastic bags, drill for crude oil, pipe or ship it to an oil refinery, fractional distill to get the right fraction of the crude oil, and then there's a process called cracking. Some of these processes you will study in year 11. And then of course polymerization, which is another process to make the plastic bag. In terms of manufacture, there's a question here. Calculate the mass of carbon dioxide produced each year from the manufacture of bags for an average family. Use the data on the next slide. Okay, so an average family uses 500 bags a year. The example. The mass of one bag is 40 grams. 0.5 grams of carbon dioxide is formed for every 1 gram of paper produced. In the case of plastic bags, you can use only 10 per year. It weighs heavier and more carbon dioxide is produced. So mass of carbon dioxide produced each year. For paper bags, mass of bags used in 1 year, 500 times 40 grams. So each bag weighs 40 grams. That's 20,000 grams. Mass of carbon dioxide formed, multiply 20,000 by 0.5, which is 10,000 grams. In terms of plastic bags, 10 times 60, so that's 600 grams, or the mass of the bags is 600 grams in a year, times that by 1.5, 0.9 kilograms of carbon dioxide. So you can see a clear difference between the two. What are the advantages and disadvantages of using paper and reusable plastic bags for carrying groceries? Paper bags, let's look at some of the advantages. They're lighter, they tear easily, they disintegrate when wet, and they are more expensive than plastic. So that's a disadvantage, isn't it? In terms of plastic bags, they can be used many times. That's an advantage. They can carry heavier weight of groceries, advantage. They're waterproof, advantage. So there are more advantages of plastic bags. Disposal. Now let's look at the disposal of the two. Plastic bags in landfill sites where they will rot quickly, so we can place them on landfill sites. We can throw them in the rubbish bin. They can be burnt, and the energy from burning can be used for other processes, and they can be recycled. Plastic bags disposal, they will not rot because they're not biodegradable. They can be burnt, but when plastic bags burn, they release fumes, dangerous fumes, and they can be reused as a shopping bag, and that's an advantage. Reuse for other purposes, can be used as bin liners, so we can make more use of them. So you have to weigh out the two sides to every argument to decide. So here's your decision. Use the information from the questions you have answered and any other information. This is a question you have to answer yourself now. There's no right and wrong here. You just have to weigh the two arguments. Is that clear? This could be like a 6-marker question, and I will leave this for yourselves to tackle. Questions on life cycle assessment. Questions are on the slide. You can post the slide here and should be able to answer those questions so that you have understood this topic. What about recycling of metals? In recycling, the key learning questions are advantages of recycling and when might recycling a material not be worthwhile. Okay, so recycling. The main advantages of excuse me. The steps needed for recycling are collecting, transporting, sorting, breaking up the materials, removing impurities, and then metals can be reused to manufacture new metal items. Advantages of recycling: saves valuable materials, less damage to the environment, less pollution in terms of noise and dust pollution, less sulfur dioxide gas is produced, more economical because it takes up less energy, and there is less waste on landfill sites, and it conserves the supply of metals. These are the advantages of recycling. Pause the slide to read these advantages. What about disadvantages? People are a big disadvantage because we don't sort things properly. So the collection and transporting and sorting takes a lot of time. It needs workers, vehicles to transport things from one place to another. These are some of the disadvantages of recycling. To summarize the whole thing, you should be able to answer the following question: describe what is meant by recycling and make a table to summarize the advantages and disadvantages of recycling materials. Here is a very, very important question, and I will pause the question here. You can pause the video here to answer this question, and then there is a nice 6-marker question with a mark scheme available for this, and I will just pause it here and attempt this question on that. On the next slide there is a answer. I will put this up, but please make sure you pause this, answer the question, and then look at the next slide for the answer. And that's the answers for the 6-marker question, and thank you for watching my video.